Welcome to the Tambellini Group's Women in Technology Spotlight Series. In these interviews, we showcase the career paths, perspectives, and accomplishments of the remarkable women leading technology forward in higher education today. Today, we are lucky enough to be joined by Sue Mukherjee, who serves as the CIO and Chief Student Success Officer at Cheney University. Welcome, Sue.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. May I call you Liz?
You may call me Liz, yes.
Thank you.
My first question for you is, before you elevated to the ranks of these high-ranking roles in technology, what did you think when you were a young child you wanted to be when you grew up, and why?
Wow, such a reflective question. It as a young child, I think I wanted to be both a dancer and a teacher.
Okay.
So, life came and the teacher road really became the road to reality for me in so many ways.
So can you tell us a little bit about your educational background and career path that led you to this role?
Of course, of course. I think if I look at my education background, um, there was a great deal of concentration on the STEM classics of reading, writing, arithmetic, um, and that helped as I navigated from education to economics, and really went on to more of the softer side of social behavior and sociology, and then finally really concentrated on leadership studies. Um, it's a great question because as I think about where I am sitting now, it really started from real hard skills, but landed in the arena of soft skill, which is really the path for STEM success for women in technology.
Great. And how did you come to Cheney University?
Right. I am so proud to be a part of the nation's first historically Black college and or university, Cheney University of Pennsylvania. Um, if you take a look at my CV, it may seem I've had a lot of jobs, but again, if you look at, bucketing them, for a great length of time, I've served the Commonwealth under various administrations, following which I navigated into the public 4-year system for the state of Pennsylvania. Prior to this role, I was with what's called a PWI in the higher ed language, which is a predominantly white institution, Shippensburg University of Pennsylvania. And of course, today I'm at Cheyney. Um, while the roles have shifted, um, and yes, the elevation does change as you progress through your career, there are certain things that have remained pretty core about my various roles, which is really at the intersection of higher education, workforce development, and data technology. And it is analytics, it is how technology is used to catalyze student success. It is how data and technology are used to ensure that we are making the right decisions in this very complex landscape.
For sure. It seems to be getting increasingly complex by the day.
So true, so true.
So tell us a little bit about what is a day in the life like in your role? You wear two big hats here, student success and in charge of information technology. What is a day like? What is a week like? What are you working on? Who are you interacting with?
Yeah, yeah. So if I go from micro to macro, right?
Right.
A day, yes, it has a lot of meetings. That is the story of our lives, but I actively focus on how to really leverage meetings well. Uh, it is also, I'm very thoughtful about not letting solid meetings consume my calendar. So it will be interspersed with this amazing conversation, say with you, right? I start the day off with touch point meetings with the people. People are my biggest asset. People are the organization's biggest asset. So it is extremely important for me at the human level to understand where my team is. So a day in the life of, say, Sue, it has a lot of meetings with top governance, touch point meetings, something a little different, right? And one again constant is starting the day with one or two really powerful leadership or industry specific material, so that my knowledge continues to grow. At a weekly level, I usually have priorities for the week as well as the month. And there is not a week or a month that'll go by without me concentrating on how I'm really empowering the team with divisional convenings, um, technology integration, migration, how we use technology to ensure that we are moving away from manual processes, using technology to make sure that the information landscape is more user friendly. These are, again, constants in the conversation. Students are really served best when the individuals that are serving them both have the resources and the knowledge to use the tools that we have available. I hope that gave you a little bit of focus on what my day to day or my weekly work constitutes.
Oh, very much so. It's interesting to hear, even though you're doing a lot of different things, interacting with a lot of different people, there's that thematic consistency in the overall strategic approach, which we hear is so important to start with the strategy and the end goals in mind. So that's great to hear.
Execution is everything.
Yeah.
And I will say something that is consistently, and I'll use your words, Liz, at a thematic level missed at an organization level is the concentration on culture. You have to meet individuals, whether your customers or your team, where they are, understand their capability, and bring in technology and analytics at that level. So, really, for me, to concentrate on the micro at the people level and the macro at a strategic level it is about sort of learning the culture at the individual and collective level.
And what are some things that you might be able to mention about the culture at your current institution that are specific to it that have informed your strategy?
Yes, the culture at Cheney University is, I think, dominated by the passion of
Mm,
every individual who is so focused on serving the student on one side of the spectrum.
mhm,
The other side of the spectrum is, really are two competing factors. First, the students we serve and the socioeconomic status of the students we serve makes support for the students very time consuming. And on the other side, at a systemic level, HBCUs have been underfunded. So there's a huge amount of manual processes still in place that technology can absolutely, um, transform,
mhm.
as well as data and consuming consumption of data actually is a privilege. You do that when you're not so inundated with work. So really understanding the the landscape and the culture, and then strategically thinking how this manual to IT transformation can occur, how the decision landscape can be shifted, um, requires a lot of thinking, requires a lot of conversations, and then requires the execution that you so well said. So that really is how my thinking and gets utilized at the strategic level.
So that's a great segue into the next question, talking about a specific project or accomplishment that has happened during your time at Cheyney that you're particularly proud of, or even a project that's still in progress, you're excited about?
Right, right. I'll give you an example. So, when I came into Cheney May of this year, for a variety of reasons, the what we call in the world of enrollment management funnel, um, it had a lot of barriers.
Mm,
In simple terms, it means students who had applied to Cheney, we had not really responded to them in a timely fashion. And this is not unique to Cheney. This
mhm.
occurs pretty much at many,
Across
many
the board.
universities.
Yes.
But by bringing the functional side of the house, meaning admissions, as well as the technology gurus, right, together, we were able to catalyze information sharing as well as a call campaign, technology driven call campaign, where we used tech experts knowing how to make processes efficient, and a cohesive communication strategy developed by the admissions folks, so that when we are talking, human beings talking to students, right, that is communicated. We increased our what we call again in the world of enrollment management yield, meaning the number of students we said, hello, what's troubling you? Why are you not coming to Cheney? How can we help? And we increase yield by 4% at the
Wow.
end of the cycle. That is tremendous. 4% point is a lot of, it shows the perfect combination of the functional side of the house sharing their problems with the technology side of the house, and the tech helping transform a process. So that's a very concrete example that I can share.
It certainly shows some compelling, tangible results there that have moved the needle in the direction that's, I would say, opposite. We see a lot of other institutions going in terms of increasing their yields and enrollment. So
So let me
that's
just
great.
give you the at the highest level.
Sure.
Cheney's enrollment increased by 9.7%
Wow.
over last year. You're going to be hard pressed to find that statistics, in many institutions. We increased our retention rates by 7%. Again, a very intrusive process to understand the student needs. And technology is here to help answer problems and really to change the dynamic, right? And provide micro and macro assistance where it is there. So, just so proud of the team.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, that is, even when you're adding the retention numbers to that as well, because it's one thing to get them in the door, it's another thing to be able to keep them there,
Absolutely.
because we see so many students go for a year or 2 years and then not enroll anymore. So that is an excellent, excellent example. Thank you for that.
Thank you. No, I will say, and I'm so appreciative of you mentioning this, President Aaron Walton. I think one of the reasons I'm at Cheney is because of the compelling leadership of President Walton. He has highlighted to the entire team the importance of retention,
Mm,
access, especially to students in the SES we serve, is absolutely meaningless unless you can give them the hope of retention, persistence, and graduation.
exactly. Well, that's so, so important. And moving on to our next question, I'd love to
Mhm.
know what you would like to know about the future. So let's say we have this magical genie come down and they can answer one question for you about the future of technology usage in higher education. What would you want to know?
What I want to know from the genie is, what is the magic wand? What is the magic wand that can be used to transform technologies while engaging the user in a non threatening manner? to solve problems. Do not create silver, shiny bells and whistles without understanding the agility with which you, Jeannie, let's go female here, Miss Jeannie, you understand the problem and the empathy with which you share back the solution. Think about the process. I'm not interested in tools. I'm interested in process creation. I'm interested in leadership. I'm interested in an empathetic process in how you do it.
It is so hard, as people say, that change management aspect of it, and how can we leverage that to make, as you say, the tools are just tools. It's all about the process and the people and the strategy behind it. Well,
Absolutely. I
on
think it's, you say a good thing. It's not just execution, it is how you execute.
very true. Well, that brings us to our final question, which is some advice that you've received that you found particularly useful in your career in higher ed.
Yes. I do have this that, I'll share with you. I think it transcends higher ed. I think we all have competing priorities and we all have very, very difficult landscapes at times, right? There's conflict out there. Um, I think the advice I received from a mentor quite a while back is when sometimes at times the world around you is crumbling and you're seeing it right in action and you still have to be a part of it. Focus internally, focus on what you can make a difference in that moment, in that hour, that day, which brings a smile, and you will solve the larger issues ahead.
You have to sometimes block out all the bigger things that can seem so overwhelming. Well, that is great advice, Sue. Thank you so much for taking the time today to speak with us. Really appreciate you sharing your perspectives.
Thank you, Liz. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.